being as they explore the advancements in natural health, physical fitness, nutrition, integrative medicine, and self-discovery.
Good day or evening, whatever time you're watching this wonderful show. I just want to thank everyone for joining us for another wonderful episode. Another wonderful episode of education, knowledge, things that's going to help you sustain and edify your life. This is what's important, that you become the healthiest person in this environment that we're living in and to sustain life. I am so thankful that I have a wonderful guest. He's no stranger. He's no stranger now, but he is definitely no stranger to New Wellness TV/radio. I want to thank my guest for being here today, David Gitoff.
You're very welcome. It's always my pleasure to educate the public.
Yes.
Anytime I can help give knowledge out, I am very happy.
Yes, and I'm going to just have you to tell people a little bit about yourself.
All right. I'm a self-employed traditional naturopath and board-certified clinical nutritionist. I've been seeing patients to help them improve their health from just about any problem that they come into me with for just under 30 years. I'm the vice president of the 67-year-old nonprofit Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation.
Yippee.
And I absolutely love giving information that people can decide whether they want to use or not. Because as I say on my invoices, I have a little saying on my invoices. It says, no supplement you don't take and no diet change you don't make are going to improve your health. So we're going to give you information. You get to decide if you're going to use it.
I love that. I love it. I have one, but mine has to do with something else. But I love that. That's wonderful. So we're going to kind of get to basics of this show because I've done many shows as it relates to EMFs, electromagnetic fields. But you are bringing to my audience something a little different. And so we're going to dive into this and talking about EMFs and the four
different types of electric and electromagnetic fields.
Yes. I don't know if people really realize there's 4 different types.
I don't think so.
I don't think so neither, because I knew about the dirty electricity and I knew about several others. And when you start telling me some things, I said, wow, this is some really good information that people need to know. And he's going to be sharing with you a device that you can start checking some things out in your own home yourself. And so many people have, it isn't a day that doesn't pass. I do not have a new patient that has, unfortunately, the cancer and other different conditions. And you have to look at everything, especially the EMFs. And, then we have more and more people with dementia and all of these other neurological disorders that people are being plagued with. It's a pandemic now of these conditions. So I just want to thank you so much for bringing this knowledge and information to my listening and viewing audience. Thank you.
You're very welcome. But remember, you made a statement that a lot of people make that said that you have to look at everything. Unless you have MD or DO after your name, in which case, not only don't you have to look at everything, but you don't have a clue of what everything encompasses, and therefore all they're trying to do is see if they can make your symptoms go away without having a clue of what caused them, so the causes remain. And so we like to look at everything, but most of the people that are going to some professional, that professional is most likely an MD or DO, so they're a physician, and they are not looking at everything.
Oh, no, I worked in that arena for a long time with MDs. I have MDs and DOs as patients.
Right, so do I.
For that very reason. And I helped set up, as an NPPA with a PhD, I helped set up clinics in the past and helped set up I was on the team for the medical department at the federal prison as well. So when you see stuff like that, it's like, gee, are these people going to get well? This is going to make the condition better, especially when I was on the team, on the triage committee for an HMO. I resigned. I had to resign.
They won't let you do what you know is good.
No, they said I took too long with patients. I did this. I said, you know what? I need more than 20 minutes to find out what's going on with a person.
Oh yeah, you take too long with patients. My initial consultation ranges between 3.5 and 5 hours,
Well, I
and
thought I was doing bad. I was about 3 or 4, 3 or 4 hours.
and
Yeah.
that's of course after they first had to watch a 3.5 hour video on healthy eating that got sent out to them before they come to see me. Because where am I going to fit that additional 3.5 hours?
My goodness. I did that with a couple of patients because they told me in coming in, they said, if you tell me I can't eat this and I can't do this and I can't do this and can't do that, then I'm not coming to you. I said, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to send you a tape. And after you watch the tape, if you feel that we're not a good fit, then it's fine.
Right. Yeah. No, I
It's
don't want
fine.
the people that aren't going to make the changes
Yeah.
that they would need to make in order to improve their health, which
Exactly.
is what they want my help for.
Exactly.
They can't
But
make
you
those.
sent me a list of so-called diagnoses, from congestive heart failure to diabetes to dementia, and then you're going to tell me
I'm not going to make any of your changes.
I'm not going to. You don't have to. You don't have to come. It's fine. I'll pray for you. So anyway, we're going to move into our topic.
Yep.
Let's move into those 4.
So we have 4 different fields, and most people don't realize that there are 4 very different and very separate fields. So first, let's mention what they are. They're 60 cycles or 60 hertz, depending on what you're used to saying. In the United States, is what's going through our walls. It's what's coming into our appliances. Anytime you plug something into an outlet in the wall, you're connecting yourself up to that 60 cycle or 60 hertz electric field. And there are actually 2 different parts of the 60 cycle field. There's 60 cycle electric and 60 cycle electromagnetic. So
okay.
if you have a lamp sitting in front of you and the lamp is turned off, and you have a meter that measures electromagnetic fields for that lamp, it will read 0, because you don't have a magnetic field in electricity unless it's going back and forth, and if it's turned off, it's not. It's just sitting there waiting for somebody to turn it on. So that would be an electric field if you're, let's say, putting the meter next to the wire.
Right.
As soon as
and when
you
you say
turn it-
meter, we're going to be showing the meter. So
We'll show some meters.
Yeah, we'll show
and,
some
and the
meters.
ones that I don't have here, I'll describe what they are. But if you turn the lamp on, now it's going back and forth through the light bulb, and now you have both the electric field, it's still there,
Right.
and an electromagnetic field. So 2 of the 4 are 60 cycle electric and 60 cycle electromagnetic. And those
At the
were some
same
of the
time.
right, and those are some of the original fields that got researched decades ago when they found a what they call it in medicine a cluster of people with, let's say, lymphoma or leukemia. And why are there so many people in this one area? This doesn't make sense. Somebody decided to look at it, and it was because they were fairly close. In some cases, it was 1/8 of a mile, so not close as what the 2 of us are
Right.
sitting,
Yes.
but close as far as the field, to the high voltage transformers that are up on the power lines that get a much higher voltage that then gets reduced to what comes into our house. And they started looking at that in different places around the country, and they found, yes, there were a lot more incidents of those cancers when the people were living for many years, because we don't usually live in a place for a couple minutes, I
No.
guess, unless you're a Navy brat and they keep on sending you all over the place, or Army.
Exactly.
But otherwise, I mean, I stayed in the same place for many years, if you were close to one of those. So that started getting measured pretty much more back in our history sooner than a lot of the other ones I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
And there are
These are the same ones I know. They were having a lot of some of those poles instead of being, on top. They were running them through the ground.
right, and that actually is beneficial.
Okay.
Because the 2 things that are helpful to reduce the exposure to these fields are distance. All of the experts say distance is your friend.
Okay.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yes.
And the other
the
is
further away it is from
right.
the body.
The other is what's in the way, what's blocking it, and soil is a pretty nice blocking agent. So if you run them underground, and of course they don't run them 2 or 3 inches underground, somebody's going to dig and electrocute themselves. They're many feet underground.
Okay.
That greatly reduces the amount of the field that comes up. So that is safer as far as the people around it if it comes to your house underground versus coming up on top.
Yeah, but we don't have places here. Do we have many places here in the United States where that happens?
Well, the underground,
Uh-huh.
a lot of new construction is being run underground.
Okay.
And part of that is because the power companies, who are now being sued all over the place because sparking transformers caused fires that burned down thousands of homes.
Yes.
That wouldn't happen if they were underground. So it also benefits them to run them underground, because you're not going to have a spark underground catch something on fire up on top.
Right.
So they have a couple of different benefits. But those are the meters. I remember a long, long time ago when San Diego Gas and Electric, which is the municipality that I get my power from, they were running a study, just taking a look at what fields were in people's houses. And I think I must have heard on a news broadcast, they said, if you want, we can have one of those people come to your home and they'll gather the information they need. And then if you want them to test some other things, they can do that. And so I went and got to be part of that. The guy that came in my house, I got lucky. He happened to be the engineer that was doing the study.
Oh, wonderful.
So I got somebody that was smart.
Yes.
And he took the readings next to my power box. He took the readings in one of the rooms that the power box was on the exterior wall of, and a bunch of different places around. And he said, I've got what I need. Anything you want me to test? And I said, yeah, actually, I would like you to test my waterbed. Because back then I had a waterbed.
Okay.
So he held this meter about 6 or so inches above the waterbed. And he said, no, that's a very safe amount. And I looked at him. I said, I don't know about you, but I don't know how to levitate. And he looked at me, and he said, very good. I like that. And he dropped it down, and he put it on the bed.
Okay.
And it went up quite a bit. And I said, that's pretty good. Who weighs more, your meter or me? And he smiled again and pushed it down into the bed about as much as it would have if I was laying there.
Right.
And it jumped up to an amount that is no longer considered safe in Sweden and some of the other areas, which was above 3 milligauss of that particular type of field.
Oh, my goodness.
So at that point, I started, that was a long time ago, haven't had a waterbed now for years. At that point, I started unplugging my waterbed heater every night as I got into bed, so there'd be no field there.
Right.
And then when I woke up in the morning, I'd plug it back in again so it would make sure it would hold the temperature, so when I went back to bed the next night,
Nice
it
and
would
comfy.
be the temperature I wanted.
Nice and comfy,
And that was one of the first times I looked at a bunch of those things, and ever since then, I have now always had my bed 2 to 3 feet away from the wall, because all of the wiring, which in the U.S. is called Romex, is in all those walls, and that 2 or 3 feet can drop an electromagnetic field on that kind of the correct meter from whatever it might be down to almost zero because of how much that distance helps on that type of electric field.
Mm-hmm. I find more people, well, we're going to get into smart meters and all that too, but, who are close to those outlets, those are the ones that really have more problems with insomnia.
Very possible.
Yeah.
Or that have sometimes they're using a cell phone as an alarm clock, which we can get into later when we go over those fields. Very bad idea.
Yeah.
Or their clock radio is an inch away, so they can barely have to move their hand to turn it off. I want them to put it so far away they have to get out of bed to turn it off, just so it's not there. And don't have any electric cords or extension cords running under your bed. Anything that you can move away to make it further.
Exactly.
is a good idea.
I had a family that flew me all the way to out of state. I won't say which state because I'm out of state because she was having migraine headaches and all these other things happening. And the first thing I asked when I got there, do you sleep with your cell phone under your pillow? Yeah. How did you know that? I said, this is a quick fix for a nice free trip, And I said, we did some other things nutritionally and turned some things around. But no more headaches. The headache's gone.
Oh, yeah. I've got a lot of people
Sleep
where...
with a cell phone.
Yep.
But we'll get to the phones, where they're carrying those on their bodies.
Yep.
Because those will show where your conditions will start to develop.
Definitely. So the first two fields are 60 cycle or 60 hertz electric and electromagnetic. And those are the easiest ones for us to deal with in our homes because the distance makes so much of a big difference.
Okay.
So just having your bed 2 or 3 feet away from the wall, when you're sitting at your, let's say you have a desk at home. I mean, obviously, I'm self-employed. I've got a desk at home. Some people don't.
Yeah.
But if there's some place in your house, or many places, one of them could be the kitchen table because you're there for an hour.
A lot of electrical appliances in your kitchen as well.
In your kitchen. But wherever it is, you spend a decent amount of time. Where if I say, can you tell me a bunch of places in your house where you're liable to be sitting in the same location for over a half an hour every single day? And most people will go, here and here and here.
Near the television.
Near the television set, right. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you can move as much as you're able so that you are not next to any electric wires or the wall because everybody has the couch against the wall.
Yes, they do.
That's where you're going to have it.
Yeah.
And most people aren't going to say, wait a minute now, you want me to move the couch a couple of feet away from the wall, pushing it like toward the TV set. I said, no, I don't want you to. I'm just telling you it will make your health better and it's safer for you.
Exactly.
You get to decide
and
what
then
you
you can
want to
have
do.
some storage space. 'Cause that's what I use it for.
But, oh yeah, I'll take a look at
Little
people's
store,
houses,
yeah.
and they've got extension cords going over. So let's say you're at a desk. I take a look under the desk, and
Right.
usually there's at least one electric outlet in there with probably more things than the fire department will even allow to be plugged into it. Another power strip and a whole bunch of things plugged into that.
Do they come out and check that?
Not in your house.
They don't
In
come
the
out and
business.
check it.
In the businesses they do.
I
In
know.
the houses they
So
don't.
what do they allow?
Well, they don't like, in businesses, they won't allow most of the power strips. They want you to put in more outlets in the wall. Some of the real heavy-duty power strips, the really, really good ones, not the ones that you can get at Home Depot or Dixie Line or Home Base. Home Base went out of business. But, for like
Okay.
$5 or $6.
Right.
I mean, Leviton makes a set that are about $34 that have surge suppressors in them that work. Sometimes they will allow that if there isn't too much in them. But most of the
In
ones...
the businesses? I didn't know that.
It depends. It totally depends on your fire department in your municipality and
Okay.
where you are.
Okay.
But you don't want them next to your feet or next to you. So if I look underneath there and there's a bunch of stuff there, I go, where's the next closest outlet? If the next closest outlet is 4 feet away, great. Plug the stuff in there. Plug all the things in
Right.
there. Oh, and you've got your computer right next to your leg. Well, yeah, because I can turn it on and off. Yeah, but it's also hurting you. So move that 3 feet away. So I don't have any of that stuff right next to me. And just a few feet for that type of field makes a big difference.
My goodness. Well, I'm hoping, because I know someone, actually two people that complain about a lot of discomfort on their feet, and they're sitting right underneath the computer.
Yep.
Right underneath the computer.
That's very,
Yeah.
very possible. Plus, the things that put out the worst fields in a couple categories, that category as well as another one we're going to go over, are motors and transformers. And these days, almost everything you've got, whether it's an LED lamp, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a little device of something, whether it's one of your chargers, has a transformer, not just a plug, a transformer that's plugged into the wall. And so now your feet are next to that transformer, not just a little tiny plug, a transformer. That transformer puts out a lot more dangerous stuff.
Oh, really? And what do they look like? Transformer. Not the plug.
Well, instead of just, do we have a plug here? Not really. Everybody knows what a plug looks like.
Right, yeah.
To plug
You
in,
plug it
just
in.
a cord.
Right.
But if that plug isn't just a plug, it's much larger. It's a box.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay.
a transformer. So the power is going in there, and the transformer is changing its power from, let's say, 120 volts in your line to the 18 or 12 or 14 or 22 or whatever is necessary by the thing it's plugged into.
Okay.
And that conversion is also putting out a lot more of a harmful field.
My.
Motors also put out a lot more of a harmful field. They did some research recently, which was very interesting, where they found an individual who had diabetes, and he loved to take his blood sugar after dinner and then go out for a 1-hour walk around his neighborhood and come back in and test it again.
Okay.
Because your body is using up the blood sugar
Exactly.
and it goes down.
With the exercise, yes.
And then he decided one winter that, I can afford it, and it's cold out there. I'm going to buy a treadmill.
Okay.
So he bought himself a treadmill, and when he tested his blood glucose level after walking on the treadmill for an hour, it was higher instead of lower. And he happened to have a relatively intelligent holistic doctor, and he called her up, happened to be a woman, and he explained that
Happened
to
to
her.
be a woman. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, people automatically say he when they're talking about a doctor, which is not right.
I
'cause
know.
You don't know. So he called her up and he told her that, and she said, would you do me a favor? Tomorrow, go outside. The next day, use the treadmill. The next day, go outside, and the next day, use the treadmill. So go back and forth and back and forth.
Alternated. Okay.
And sure enough, every time he used the treadmill, his blood sugar went up after his hour walk. And she said, what's obviously going on, I'm not there with a meter and I can't, but there isn't any other alternative. What's obviously going on is that the very strong electric field from the very powerful motor that is moving the treadmill that you're standing on is inflaming your pancreas and screwing up your body. She said, so I would advise you
That's
to
really
give back the treadmill and put a jacket on and walk outside.
That reminds you of all the people now, and you kind of look at the fact all the people go to the gym.
Everybody's
Well,
going to the gym.
Going to the gym, doing the same thing.
Yep.
And they leave there and think, I've done something good for my health, and in reality,
It might not be. It might not be. Or it's helping some muscles, but it's not helping
the
something
muscles.
else. So it just
Right.
depends on what you're doing. And
because you're talking about the motor.
right.
So, yeah.
And somebody told me that there are now some of these treadmills that your movement is moving them, that there's no electric connection. It's not really a
Wow,
motor. So if that's
really?
true, then those would certainly be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every single person that does this is going to have an increase in blood glucose.
Exactly.
Because we're all different.
We're all different.
But the fact that it
Genetically
does
made
on
up, yeah.
some, and they've now tested it, and they have a number of people that this has happened to. So we know that he wasn't a freak or an anomaly. He was just
Right.
one of many people.
Yeah. You're doing something with the show that I normally ask people to do in the end, which is really great because I like testimonies.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of case studies. So we're doing that as we go, which is great. 'Cause I like people to, and I say watching the show to learn so they can take this and move on to something else.
Right.
And become much healthier.
Absolutely.
Because once you're informed, you should be utilize it.
You're
Utilize the
able
info-
to. You now know. Now
yeah,
you get to
know.
decide.
So if you don't, then shame on you.
So,
Okay.
so those are the first two, electric
Yes.
and electromagnetic. The third one is the one that you mentioned, dirty electricity.
Okay.
And that's not something that most people even know about.
Right.
So dirty electricity, I know what a dirty floor is. Most people know what a dirty refrigerator is or dirty clothing is. What the hell is dirty electricity?
Right.
You take a look at it, it's have a bunch of spots and
And
grape juice on it.
Do you ever see it? Yeah. Do you actually see it?
Do you see it? So what happens is that for those people that even understand the word, there's something called an oscilloscope. An oscilloscope shows you a waveform. And so if you had a very wide frequency oscilloscope and you connected the power line from just any outlet in a house or business, what you would expect to see is these sine waves that are coming at 60 cycles, 60 times a second.
Okay.
And you will see that, but if you have a wide enough frequency response, it won't be a nice thin wave. There'll be a whole bunch of static garbage on the wave everywhere. That's the dirty electricity. Those
Okay.
are other frequencies that are tagging along on the wiring that we don't need, we have no use for.
Okay.
They're doing nothing beneficial for us whatsoever. If they weren't there, we wouldn't even know the difference, except that they're hurting us. And so they've done research on this. Dave Stetzer of Stetzer Electric did some of the beginning research on it, I believe, in Kazakhstan, where they put in devices that would lower the amount of dirty electricity coming into a house. And it was double blind. People didn't know whether or not they were turning these devices on or turning these devices off. They did it for a number of months. And then they asked the people in the houses, because they had been told this experiment was going to be done, did any of you notice any differences in the way you felt, in any way, shape, or form,
Okay.
from month to month during these numbers of months that it was done? And they found a 100% correlation between when they turned it in the position that was later found, because it was double blind,
Okay.
later found to be that they were reducing the dirty electricity, that the people felt better, and that when they weren't reducing the dirty electricity, the people felt worse in various different ways depending on the person.
Right.
Then he discovered that there were some really sensitive people, and those were people that were sick and were homebound, that didn't notice as much of a difference as the other people. And he did some experiments, and he found out it was because he was trying to reduce the dirty electricity coming into the house, which made a big difference, but the things inside our house produced dirty electricity. So it wasn't really bringing it down as low as he thought it
see.
was, and the
Yes.
really sensitive people were still feeling it. So he developed little things you can plug in called Stetzerizers, and there's another company that has them called green wave filters. And what they do is they ground
Green
off.
wave filters.
Green wave, yeah, Stetzer and Green Wave are the
Okay.
two companies.
Okay.
And he developed these, or the two different companies developed these, and when they get plugged into the wall, they do nothing to the power that we need. The 60 cycles is going right, no issue.
Okay.
But it grounds off these other frequencies, so that if you have one of the meters that Stetzer makes or that Greenwave makes that shows the amount of dirty electricity. So I plugged one of these meters into one of the outlets in my house, for example, years and years ago.
Okay.
And it jumped up at 1100 when safe is below 40.
Oh my goodness.
And I went, okay. And then I plugged a Stetzer unit in to the other half of the outlet.
Okay.
And it dropped down to about 28. I went, okay, I'm going to go buy a whole bunch of these. I'm going to start carrying them. I'm going to start renting out the meters to people so they can try. And I have patients that say, yeah, we plugged it into every outlet in the house, waited for 20 seconds for it to sort of equalize because it changes, and there wasn't anything in our house that was above 40. I said, fantastic, then you don't need to buy any of these units. And other people that went, oh yeah, this outlet's 200 and something, that's 1100, this is 1200.
Oh my goodness.
So it just
Yeah.
varies.
Yeah.
And just like what we said about where you spend a lot of time, you at least, even if you can't afford to do the whole house, you at least want to say, where do I spend a lot of time? Where does everybody spend a lot of time? Bedroom, when they're asleep.
Right.
So at the very least, you want to check all of the receptacles in the bedroom, and then we start plugging these in, checking them again, plugging them in, checking them again, adding another one, checking them again, until we get that number, down below 40. Stetzer and Greenwave are both, they seem to be equal quality. The biggest difference between the two of them, Greenwave is a newer company, is that the Greenwave filter has a receptacle in the bottom. A lot of people were complaining about the Stetzer unit that they would plug it in, and now they just lost that half of the outlet, and they were using that half of the outlet.
Oh, yeah.
So the Greenwave, you plug it in, and there's an outlet on the bottom, so he designed it to keep that.
Okay, and you can't place two in there. It's too large.
Yeah, so they both do their job, and so I haven't counted recently, maybe 25 of these units, plugged in around my house.
Okay, because
is safe.
You can't put it into one of the strips.
You can plug it into one of the strips.
Oh, okay. Would that help? That'll help.
Sure. Yeah, you can plug it into one of the strips. So in other words, you need those outlets. So you plug that into the wall, and you've got your outlet strip now, and you plug one into the outlet strip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the dirty electricity. And the dirty electricity, I already have patients, and I've been using them now for, I guess, probably 7 or 8 years. I have patients where when they plugged in the units to reduce the dirty electricity down to, let's say, 40 or below, they noticed that their children were less hyper when they woke up in the morning. They noticed that their sleep was deeper and they felt more rested. And we're all different.
They probably were able to study better that day at school.
Yeah,
as well.
Very possible.
Especially
We're all different.
happening.
And there are some schools, some small private schools that have learned about them and are using them in the schools for the benefit of the kids. But what people don't understand, and they sort of understand it, but they don't really understand it, is we are all very different.
Yes, we are.
So,
yes, we are.
the example I give is a little weird example. You take somebody who has a bad case of the flu, and this is an experiment, so don't get mad at me. You walk into a room, and that person French kisses every woman, boy, and girl in the room.
Okay.
They will not all get the flu.
True.
Because different people have different immune systems. We are all very, very different in many, many different ways. So when somebody says, well, my dad drank like a fish, which is ridiculous because fish don't drink, they just live in the water. People say, drink like a fish, which is weird.
We can't.
But, drank like a fish and smoked a pack a day, all of his life, and he died at 99 of old age.
I hear that a lot.
All the time. And therefore, drinking is good for you, or certainly isn't bad for you, and smoking isn't bad for you.
Yeah.
No, we know they're bad. It's been proven. It depends on the person. Would he have lived another 5 years if he hadn't? We have no idea.
Oh, if he had been in this generation, because now everything is so adulterated that, you're not getting the same tobacco. This is what a big problem with vaping with our young people now. If that was the same tobacco then, it might not be the same. But
I work on it differently. I work on the principle that if there's something, and I don't care whether that's a food or an additive that I'm trying to avoid, or whether it's an electric field I'm trying to avoid, or whether it's a nutrient I'm trying to take, if there's something in which there's pretty good scientific proof that this is bad for me, I'm going to try to avoid it.
I'm going to omit it,
I'm going to try to avoid it.
Yes, same here.
Everybody gets to decide how much they want to do that.
Yeah.
And when we get into the next field, which is microwaves, we'll realize how much harder that is for some people to do.
Yeah. There's a couple of tests, I'm sure you know the tests too, that I had people to do just for themselves. Test it out for you and see if it's going to be something that's going to be harmful to enhance or take away from you.
Right.
You want to have a DNA stronger, you want to have a healthier body, or something that's distracting and aging you. And everybody's into this. I mean, that's what Hollywood is, the way it is, with the cosmetic surgeries and things. Everybody want to look good. But let's not try to do so many surgeries and cosmetic things. Let's watch what you put in your body and what you're surrounding yourself with so that you can continue to look good, feel good.
Plus, every single surgery automatically has both antibiotics, and painkillers. Those are all going to be part of the surgery.
Yes.
Those are both chemicals that are very bad for us.
Cocktail.
So automatically that's going to, it's going to hurt you in those ways. It's like I remember one doctor was asked, what does the body think of surgery? And I thought that was a really cute question.
What does the body think of surgery?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was ACAM, American College for the Advancement of Medicine. Somebody was a surgeon was talking about different things, and one of the doctors in the audience came up to question and answer mic and said, if the body could talk, what do you think it thinks about surgery? And the doctor thought about it for a second, and he said, I think if the body could speak to you in a language you'd understand, the body would say, I consider surgery to be a motor vehicle accident with drugs added.
Wow.
So we're tearing tissue, we're breaking things, we're bleeding, but we've added a couple of different drugs also at the same time because you're anesthetized, you got painkillers, you're probably going to have to be on the painkillers later, you're going to be on antibiotics later to make sure that you don't infected. So it's sort of like a motor vehicle accident.
Yeah, because most people do die from surgeries from infection anyway. So
Right.
yeah, so you put on quite a few antibiotics.
Yep, most definitely. So the first three with dirty electricity, and dirty electricity is not going to hurt anybody to reduce.
Reduce it.
Right.
Listen to that very carefully.
It's not going to hurt you to reduce
it.
If somebody says, well, geez, I've got to move my alarm clock a couple feet from the bed. I've got to plug things in a different I got to move my computer. I don't know if I want to do all those things. Where am I going to put these things? But the dirty electricity, all you're doing is adding. You got to buy them. All you're doing is adding Greenway filters or Stetzer filters and checking with the meter to make sure you've reduced it. So that's not hurting you in any way. You're not having to move other stuff. There's no problem except the expense.
Right.
And they last a long time.
What about the infrared light bulbs that you can buy yourself?
What infrared light bulbs? Because infrared is a non-visible spectrum.
Right. I mean the red light bulbs. Someone said the light bulbs that you can buy, they're not infrared, but I guess the person was saying you can create more of an infrared surrounding yourself.
Well, obviously, you can change any of the spectrums of light around you. The best research that was done on that was Dr. John Nash, and he did a fabulous documentary on it called Exploring the Spectrum. And he's been dead for quite a while, but when I spoke to him on the phone in Florida before he died, he said everybody should have access to my documentary. And I took that to give me permission, because you can't get the DVD easily anymore, to put the entire movie on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So you go to my YouTube channel, and Exploring the Spectrum is there. But what he found, and he did animal studies with rats, he found that same air, same water, same food, the only difference being the light that was illuminating the animals. That was the only change that was being made. Massive changes. You could cut their life in half. You could have them get all sorts of skin problems and have their tails fall off. All sorts of things just by changing the light. With the healthiest light, number one, being outdoor sunlight.
Exactly.
And the second healthiest light being just a little below that, being a good quality, full spectrum fluorescent light. And people say, oh, fluorescents are bad. No, not if they're either German or US made full spectrum fluorescent lights. And if they're put in a fixture that doesn't have any of this 60 cycle, going on and off, and the newer ones don't because they're using electronic ballasts, so they're actually going on and off 25,000 times a second. The body can't see it. Okay. And the company whose ones I use, I hear it's raining. It doesn't rain very much in Southern California.
I thought that was Tony over there typing. What is he typing so fast?
The company I use is Full Spectrum Fluorescence. I have nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
And they have 48-inch tubes, which I think are called Maxim 5000, if I remember correctly. That's what I have all over my house. So people are always surprised. They come in, they go, you're into health, and every room in your house and your office and your bathroom, it's all illuminated with fluorescent lighting? I go, yes, but it's special, US-made, full-spectrum fluorescence. There are lead foil tapes around the end where it strikes the arc, so it'd be called radiation-shielded full-spectrum fluorescence. And that's because Dr. Ott, we're talking about energies here, Dr. Ott found that if you had plants, and they plants, a whole bunch of the same type of plant, and you had some toward the middle of the fluorescent light, and some toward the end, where the spectrum was done, the ones that were toward the end weren't growing well. And at the time he did this, a couple decades ago, there weren't any meters sensitive enough to read the harmful electricity that was coming out of that. Now there are. But what he did to see and to prove that there was harmful electricity coming out of the inch of a fluorescent tube was he did the experiment, as I said, some in the middle of the light, no problem, some near the ends, problem. And then he tried putting a piece of black paper there their problem remained. He put some aluminum foil there, the problem remained. He put some lead foil there, the problem went away. So he knew that it was a type of radiation because lead will block it, and it went away. And so
That's why my plants in my office, sitting next to that one wall, they all die real fast. I don't care how I love them and put water, they just...
Something they don't like on that wall.
Yeah, right there at that wall.
So that's another type of radiation that's coming out of these fluorescent lights. So I have fluorescent lights everywhere, but they're full spectrum. They're the closest I can do to bringing sunlight indoors, and I won't use a white diffuser panel because the white diffuser panel totally changes the spectrum of the light.
Okay.
It has to either be no diffuser panel or what they call egg crate, so that it comes right through, or it has to be what's called clear prismatic. So again, it's not white, it's not a color, and it lets as much of the light through as possible. Because that's another form of radiation, a little bit different than what we're talking about, which also affects our health.
And I just want to stop you just for a second there and tell everyone, please, please share this show. Whether it be on YouTube or Facebook, please share the show. We're on Instagram and Apple and iHeart, so we're just about everywhere now. So please share this information because I mean, the hospitals every day are having more and more people showing up, more and more conditions that they don't know how to take care of.
Yep.
And we don't have to suffer like this if we can just make some subtle changes. And these are not really big changes.
No, those haven't been big
These are very
changes.
subtle changes that you
We're
can
going to
make
hit the
in your
bigger
house.
ones now.
Yeah, we're about to. The ones that we're all attached to. You're not, but but I just want to say that please share the show with your friends and family because it's really important. And make sure when you're listening to the show, have a pen and paper ready. You can go back and re-listen to it, but take your notes because you want to follow up on a lot of these things that we're talking about today. Yes.
So that brings us to the last of the 4 different fields.
Yes.
And the last one is microwave electromagnetic fields.
Yes.
They're all in the electromagnetic spectrum. The electromagnetic spectrum is gigantic, but that includes microwaves. So where do the microwave fields come from? The microwave fields come from your cell phone. All the cell phone towers that are out there, they're transmitting things to us.
Now we're moving into the 5G. And
right now we're moving into 5G, which is going to be even worse.
And 6G, though.
Yep. So we got cell phone towers. We've got your microwave oven. We've got the Wi-Fi modems or routers that are in your house. We've got Bluetooth. I mean, these are all microwave. And microwave is worse in a number of ways than the others. That doesn't mean I want people to say, oh, I don't care about the others, then we'll just work on the microwave. No, they're all affecting you.
Yes.
But it's worse because it is designed to be a transmission energy.
Yes.
Nobody designs the wall current to send something out that's hurting us. It's designed to just go on the wire and give us something to plug in our appliances.
Exactly.
Whereas these are designed to project, and therefore distance is still your friend, but it's not as much of a friend as it was before because obviously...
Not with microwave.
Yeah, I mean, you got your cell phone, and your cell phone is strong enough to send something to the closest tower for it to then go to the next tower, That closest tower could be a quarter of a mile away or more. No problem getting there.
And it's pinging on you.
And it's pinging on you. So another inch or two, when it's going that far away, doesn't make as much of a difference. But it does make some, and it makes enough of a difference. And I didn't know this until it was brought out at one of the conferences a couple of years ago. Every single cell phone manufacturer, doesn't make any difference which one it is, if you find their precautionary statements, which are no longer printed in a manual that comes with it, because A, they don't want you to know this. They want to be able to prove that they told you, but they don't want you to know it. And B, of course, but that's cutting down a lot of trees, and the manuals get really big because they're now computers.
Right.
So you got to find it. It's on your phone. You've got to find it.
And it isn't that hard to find. I forget exactly how you can find it, but you can go right into... It's like a manual or something. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, there is definitely a way.
It is all the way at the very bottom.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
It's at the very bottom, and you can read it, and it will tell you.
And it tells you
we're not responsible.
But it's not only we're not responsible. It says do not carry your phone. And now it depends on the manufacturer because they showed us 3 at the EMF conference. If anybody wants to take a look at it, they have a little bit of information. I think it's still online, emfconference.com. But they showed us 3 different ones. One said that we are directing you to not carry your phone within a half an inch of your body. One said 7/8 of an inch, and I said one said 3/4. So it depends on the company. But everybody says at least a half an inch. I'm thinking, carry your phone at least a half an inch from your body. Well, where do most people carry their phones? In their pockets. Some women carry them in their bras. So front pocket, back pocket, bra. That's directly against your body.
Yes, it is.
So a half an inch from your body. Are we supposed to get a Star Trek levitation device and have it sort of sitting next to us and walking, beside us? So I mean, I don't know what to do with things like that. There are companies. Which one do I have? OtterBox. OtterBox makes a cell phone holder that, because of its size, it would be on your belt. It would be at least a half an inch from your body. I don't carry a cell phone. I mean, I'm a weirdo.
Well, you're not a weirdo. It was funny because I was texting you the address when you said, send me the address. And I'm texting it to him. He said, no, email. And I'm like, why he keeps sending me an email saying, send me the address? I'm texting it to him. I forgot. He doesn't carry a phone.
I don't carry a cell phone.
He doesn't carry a cell phone.
So we've got these microwaves. The manufacturers to protect
themselves. Several people I know do not carry them.
Are telling you that. And all of these different things are doing stuff to us that is bad all day long. Now, a lot of the public and a lot of the medical profession will say, well, they probably need more research. Right now, we don't know whether they're unsafe or whether they're safe. And that's not true. There are lots of websites on there. There is so much research. I'll give you two websites. PowerWatch, I think it's .co.uk, and the other one is SLT for Safe Living Technologies.
Okay.
SLT.co, not .com. And you can find research studies. The PowerWatch has hundreds of research studies by category. So when somebody says, well, there's no research, there's lots of research. It's not there if you don't look for it. So there's a huge amount of research. So what do we know? Well, one of the things we know is that the safety testing that they're doing is bogus. They're using the SARS units of how much the phone is putting out, and they're putting these phones to test them on a simulated head of a man that weighs 220 pounds.
Right.
But wait a minute, we've got little kids that weigh 50 pounds using the cell phones. How can you use that to say it's safe?
Exactly.
That's wrong.
Exactly.
Second thing is that they are basing it on a half an hour's worth of usage during, a day and a half. And we have people that are using the phones for hours and hours a day.
Their meetings, everything.
All the time, or maybe playing on them. And so all of the things they're doing are wrong. The biggest thing they've done that's wrong is they're basing it on temperature sensors that they're putting in this synthetic skull to see whether or not it raises the temperature, because they said since microwave ovens cook by heat, therefore it's the heat that it's used that is making the damage, the problem.
Right.
Well, they've now done research where they've put in super sensitive thermistors to see, and they found that no, the damage is being done by the microwave without ever increasing heat. So everything they're doing to prove phones are safe is invalid. They are not safe, and the less you can use them, the better.
No, I just want to say something, a couple things. Now, I went to go visit a friend of mine, his office. He's a medical doctor, and he had a patient in the lobby who was telling the receptionist, well, I'm here. His chief complaint was these cardiac palpitations. And as he was talking to her, I'm looking at his chest, I'm looking at his phone right there over his heart, and I'm like, I wonder how long has he had the palpitations, and how long he's been carrying the phone there. So come to find out, he said, well, since you want to know those questions, come on in the room with me with the patient. And asked him, and he said, well, I've had this phone for 6 months, and it started like 5.5 months ago. And I carry it here for work every day, and it's there for hours and hours. Greater than 8 hours. And when he stopped carrying the phone there, the palpitations subsided. And now one thing, now it could just be coincident, but I was curious. I was working at a clinic years ago where we had an ultrasound machine inside the clinic. So I out of curiosity, we were slow a lot of days in this particular clinic. And when people started coming in with kidney problems or pain in their back, I was curious and wanted to see through ultrasound what was going on. It was just something I wanted to do. And out of, I must have did this with at least 200 or 300 people. And at least 80% of them had small cysts on the same side they were carrying their
phones.
A small kidney cyst. So I'm not saying if there's a correlation. Well, I don't know. They didn't have a cyst on the opposite. And I didn't, I did test quite a few people. So I'm just curious because now we're seeing a lot of kidney cysts.
And that's the reason that we do research. So two of the top research scientists in the field of electromagnetic fields, and there are a bunch of others, are Dr. Devra Davis.
I met her.
And Dr. Magda Havas.
Wonderful, yes.
Yeah, I met them both at the conference. Great people. Spoken to them a bunch of times. And Magda Havas, she did some studies and published them, of course, and so on. Oh, there's no research. Yeah, it's there. You just have to know where to look. Where they took somebody that was having heart irregularities, connecting them up to an electrocardiogram, and then they would either have...
So they've done some tests, okay.
Yep, they would either have a mobile phone in the room, a cordless phone in the room, or take it out of the room, and they could watch the heart go crazy.
Oh, my goodness.
So we know that. Again, not everybody, just like cigarette smoking, but if you ask 1,000 people walking down the street, do smoking cigarettes raise your risk of lung cancer? Pretty much all of them will say yes, even though you could still say, well, everybody doesn't get it. Well, no, that's not the way it works. They understand that. But then when it comes to something they don't want to get rid of, like their cell phone, but maybe it happened with one or two people. It wouldn't happen with me. You don't know.
Same thing with brain tumors.
They're even
talking about
big escalation in brain tumors.
Big.
And
I know one of the surgeons over at Cedars, he made a statement about cell phones and brain tumors, certain type of brain tumors. Won't go into that today, but we do know there's a correlation.
There's definitely a correlation.
And breast cancer with the cell phone right on the women's breast.
The cell phone on the bra, they found people that have 2 and 3 primary tumors, which is impossible because primary means it's the primary.
Yes.
But there are 2 or 3 hot spots on the cell phone, and when they carry the phone in the bra, you get primary tumors. And what I say is, again, I want to reduce my exposure. So for me, I have no Wi-Fi in my house. I have no cordless phones.
Right.
But all somebody has to do is go to Home Depot and 24-hour timers and plug their router into it and plug it in the wall and set it so that when everybody is asleep and nobody's awake anyway, the Wi-Fi is automatically off, and you just cut it off for 6 or 7 hours a day. Why would you not want to do that? Do you leave your kitchen oven on 24 hours a day?
I like
that.
So
you don't have to preheat it when you go in it? Really?
Yeah.
Do you leave your car idling outside your house, so when you go in there it's already idling? No, and that's only hurting you with money. This is hurting your health.
I like that. Oh, my goodness. You've said so much. We're almost out of time here, and we didn't go into the smart cars, because people are having more car problems driving their cars long distance.
Yep.
And knee problems, the back problem. I mean, the cars we know are very toxic anyway.
They are.
But the smart cars, the batteries in there. But we're not going to get into that. I'm going to have you back again, because what I like to, before I end the show, I like for a person to, so the audience is sitting in front of you and looking to the camera. And what are your leaving or parting words you want to leave with them today?
Parting words would be, you have to decide how important for you is the word prevention. Because if the only time you're going to make a change is when something's gotten so bad that it has now created a symptom, then you are going to get all sorts of things in your life that you could have prevented. And I'm a prevention fanatic.
Me too.
And if you want to learn about lots of that stuff, there's a whole area on my website called In Search of Unknown Facts.
I love that.
Which goes over the things that you think you know, but you're probably on the wrong side of the facts.
Okay.
So I'm a prevention addict.
So am I. Early detection, prevention.
Yep.
But that's me. And I want to thank you so much. I still want to always say doctor. I want to thank you so much, David Gitoff. Thank you so much. We never forget his name, Mr. David Gitoff, for being a guest today.
My pleasure.
It's been absolutely there's no words to express the knowledge that you have given to my audience. There's no words to express. I just want to thank you again.
You're welcome. And now they get to decide how much of it they're going to put into use.
And I really think a lot of them will. That's why they tune in to the show.
Good. Excellent.
Because I run into a lot of people and said, thank you. One gentleman told me, and I know he's probably watching today, watching your show is like having a wonderful consultation. So I want to thank you for those who took the time to watch the show today and to share. Now, as I always end the show, there's something I always say because of the power of the I am. And I want you to repeat after me. I am so grateful that I am a magnet for miracles.
For miracles.
And we're a good magnet.
Which I see on your button.
We are good magnets, okay? So have a wonderful, wonderful, safe, and blessed day.
Join us every Wednesday live at 11 a.m. for New Wellness TV with Dr. Lee. Remember, healthy mind, healthy body.